Intro! Okay, so I've gotten myself into a little bit of danger here, but we don't have to talk about that. But while I am stuck in wherever I am, let's talk about what the Backrooms is, why is it so popular, and ultimately why was it so funny, cool, and interesting to people. So let's begin. So Backrooms started, I believe, by a 4chan post a few years ago, and it was this really weird picture of a very yellow room with very good description, and it was saying that it had moist walls and carpet, and they just asked what did everybody give the vibe to. Then someone on YouTube, Kane Pixels, a little later started making a horror series about it, which is why it became so popular today. You can play Minecraft, Roblox, even Fortnite. They all have got some kind of adaptation for the Backrooms. So this is where its success came from, but what's about? The start of Kane Pixel's video starts out with this guy looking like he's about to get robbed by two guys, and then you turn around behind you, and then the cameraman does, and they say that's a good shot, whatever. Then you go to camera for the footage, you trip backwards, and you fall into the Backrooms. So now you're stuck in the Backrooms. Well, what do you have? Well, you've obviously brought your camera with you, which is the whole thing about that video, is that he brought his camera, so he recorded footage. And the thing is this game or meme or whatever came to be a very inclusive meme among the community, as many people have created their own versions of the Backrooms, created their own levels, made a whole story. But then you have to ask the question, why did people like it so much? Well, it was just for that reason. People could just make whatever they wanted to, and it felt like a game. They made it look like as real as possible and could fit into your real life situations, but if you take into more detail on how it works, on how you're teleporting to different places, you no-clip through reality, which is how you get here in the first place, and I'll go over it in a second, and then also that you have things like stamina and, different stages like that, because they have things that do not exist, like almond water, for example. To my knowledge, that's not a real thing, but, it's in the Backrooms, and that's probably why it's here, is because it was. The whole story is that the Backrooms is supposedly the unused assets of a simulated world, because normally in games you put anything that is unused or anything of that sort into the outside of the playable area, but sometimes players can find a glitch, and you could see where this is going. People will find a glitch, clip through reality, and ultimately end up here. But that begs the question, why can't you escape? Well, the world is pretty large, right? I mean, you may think it's small, but really, it's pretty huge. I mean, think about it. If you lived in the U.S., you have to travel at least 12 hours just to get to Japan. And it's even longer than that if you're on the eastern side of the world. So just think about that. That's flying, one of the fastest transportation methods we have. If you had to drive by car, oh goodness, that would take a long time. But anyway, back to the Backrooms. So, what is here? So, even though I don't have anything here, you may see something that looks like this. They are called entities, as they don't look like anything that has existed in all real life. So that's why I chose this, because they're usually very dark and just look like a shadow, but will have some sort of white glowy face or something. And they have many different names, but we're just going to call this one Entity. Most entities in the Backrooms are hostile, which makes this, again, like a game environment, where you have hostile monsters. Hello. We have hostile monsters and a few passive monsters. You know, you could really think of it like a Minecraft game, except your survival is necessary. Considering that pretty much no one makes it out of these back rooms, and if you don't, some bad things will happen to you, man. And the problem is once you get trapped here, there may never be an escape. This is where, again, it comes into the video game aspect. You may never be able to actually truly escape. Even if it looks like the real world out there, it could all be a fake reality, and you never know what's real. But you don't gotta worry about that. You're not having a mental crisis right now, are you? Please don't. Anyhow, the whole thing is that the Backrooms was created as something to be like, what's your vibe? If you've ever seen those YouTube videos where they show like 4 different houses, to like, oh, which one are you vibing with the most? It was kind of the same thing. It was like, if you ended up here, what would you do? So, yeah. Now let's go over level 0, which is the one I'm in right now, and see what it's all about. So first of all, level 0 has a bunch of yellow walls and carpets. They're not the exact same. The walls probably could be a bit greener than this, but it's fine. If you look around, they usually have that little base on the floor, you know, of a normal house, and then it's usually some wet yellow carpet. Of course, you have entities, which the one you find here, there's a couple different ones, but they mostly look pretty much like this. You have flashing lights, buzzing lights, and a bunch of different sounds, and it just makes it look like it's an abandoned office building with no chairs. There are even some lights that are out, or different colors, or any of this sort. And there are a lot of dark areas of these places, too. So, the whole thing is that you don't want to be here without a buddy, either. Because, no matter what, if you're here alone, it's going to decrease your survival rate. But, again, of course, this is not real. Don't get scared. You're not going to come into the back rooms. It's just a game. You can play it a bunch of different ways. But this is the level that's commonly seen the most. And usually is what people usually can make it through without either just getting so scared they shut their computer off. But there are a ton more levels that I will go over. But yeah, that's pretty much level 0. The only way I've seen to escape this is either 1, sleeping. Sometimes you can get transported to the back rooms through a dream. And if you transport through a dream, all you have to do is just sleep again, and you'll be able to wake up. The problem is to sleep, you have to find a bed or couch. And those are kind of rare, because if you sleep on the floor, bad things can happen to you. But there are also ventilations. These will probably spawn in if you enter through no clipping to the ground, which I said I'll get to later. Basically, if someone hasn't really played video games, have a lot of glitches before, Sonic 06, basically, you can just walk into something or run into it in a very weird way, and you'll clip out of reality. And that's how you end up here. And which is, again, another reason why this just seems to all relate to a video game, which makes it seem so real. But once you go through an event like this, it could be up on the wall, ground, whatever, you'll be transported, not to the outside, but to another room. This is why I say that once you're here, you're almost done for. Your survival rate is really low, because it's not like, oh, you're in the back rooms, here's some lost assets. You realize how big the world is. There can be so many things that do not exist in the world. It's crazy. So, you're going to have to go through a lot of levels There'll be a lot of fake levels, a lot of difficult levels. There will be so many levels. I mean, trust me, if I was in here, my legs would fall off like 3 levels in if I was even still like alive. But if once you enter here, you go into level. I think it's level 1 because this level is technically counted as like level 0 or lobby, and then the next thing is level 1, which of course it can differ between games that you play because sometimes the next level can be very similar to a previous one, so they don't include it in games. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Don't be scared. It's not real. And make sure to wear your bicycle helmet. I see you, Timmy. You're not wearing one. Do it. Oh, and also subscribe. Bye.